I'm Scott, and this is GreatScott Knitting, Vlogtober, day 29. Counting today, there's only 3 more days. Not counting today, there's only 2 more days of the whole Vlogtober experience. And I'm going to kind of miss it, having this as a major focus of my month. So welcome in. To those of you who are new to this channel, welcome. I hope you find something fun, interesting, and or maybe even enlightening as you view the stuff on my channel. And to those of you who are returning viewers, thank you for coming back. I appreciate your support. So we are into the last throes of the Westknits Mystery Knit Along, and I have completed sections 8 and 9 of Clue 4, which are the finishing aspects of the wing tips. So if you don't want to see that, if you are one of these people that is not checking out everything that's been happening and wants to avoid spoilers and all that kind of stuff, now's your opportunity to jump out for a moment while I reveal my wingtip aspects of this shawl. So spoilers, and here it is. There's your wingtips. They're kind of hard to show off due to the fact that this, and you can kind of see a little bit of my embellishments there that I'm doing on this side. So this is a longer shawl. So this shaping of this shawl is rather interesting. It's very much a U shape to the shawl. I mean, I suppose you could stretch it out like this, but it's much more of a U shape that comes out of the shawl. And so it has this rather big length to it, which is kind of fun, makes it very interesting. The final section to this shawl is really going to be the center there's going to be a center section elongation, which will deal with the loops to some extent. But for the most part, this is it, folks. Now there's some really cool stuff to come here. I have jumped ahead. I have seen how the shawl finishes up. I do enjoy the finale, and I like the entire piece as a whole is very interesting. And I think, once you put it on to wear it in some kind of fashion, all of the different elements are going to kind of interplay in different ways to make it an interesting, worn a piece that you wear. And I really do think that for this center embellishment, I'm going to use the main color. I'm going to bring the main color into that embellishment and continue with the yellows, and then that main color is one embellishment. But that's kind of how I'm going to play with that. But I'm not going to do that till the very, very end. And then there's some blocking to do, but we're very close. Now, I do believe that final chevron section is still a substantial amount of knitting. I probably will be done with this shawl this coming week, and I'll have an opportunity to get it blocked, get it sort of finished up, and be able to show it off. So that is a really cool thing to be coming near its end. I'm kind of sad about that. Now I do have my Boneyard, which is still in play, so I'll be working on that, and I have a couple of ideas of what I'm going to be going for going into November. I think I have a few gift knits I have to attend to, but those are going to be pretty much one skein types of things that I'm doing. But yeah, so that's pretty much where things are. It's been fun really watching other people's reactions and thoughts as they go through this process. I think this year's shawl has been a little more challenging for some people, especially very challenging for those who are project knitters. And by a project knitter, what I mean is someone who, it's not that they do not enjoy knitting. They clearly do enjoy knitting, but they knit for the finished piece. That's their biggest goal, is to get to that point where they have an object that they can make use of, either as a sweater or a shawl or a hat, gloves, mittens, whatever you're knitting. The end goal in mind is the piece being done and used. And I think it's been much more conducive to the process knitter, the knitter that will pick up any piece of knitting and knit on it for a period of time, and then put it down and maybe pick up something else and knit on it for a period of time, where eventually you get to the point where you have a finished object. And I think that's really, as I say that, the sort of the two people that that have kind of been spearheading one of the communities here online are Irina Shaar and Martin Waite of Knit 365 and Fiberchats. So you have very much two different types of knitters there. I would put Irina in more of a project knitter category for this reason. She's very much a monogamous knitter. She likes to knit and get to the object. She's she does a lot of test knits. It's not that she doesn't have multiple things on the needles at the same time, but she's very focused on one piece at a time. And really, she has very strong goals around finishing a piece before moving to something else. Whereas Martin, if you've watched any of his podcast, you know that at any given point in the year, and usually at every point in the year, he has anywhere from 16 to 20 pieces on the needles in active, in some form of active work, or at least, like, I think right now he has 16 pieces on the needles that he considers works in progress. And I think he's actively working on like about 6 of those at any given time, because he likes to, on one day he'll work on one piece, on another day he'll work on another piece, and so on and so forth. So I would put him very much in a process knitter's camp. He's even said that his attitude is it'll all get done at some point. So that is a very process knitter concept. It's okay if I have 100 things on the needles, they'll all get done at some point. Whereas project knitters are very much one thing on the channel, one thing is going to get done, and then I'll move on to the next thing. And so they become they're very monogamous in their focus. And so and I think with mystery knit-alongs in general, but with this particular mystery knit-along, it is very process knitter oriented, because you don't know where it's going, so you don't know the product at the end. You don't know the end in mind, other than it's going to be it's a shawl knit along, so you know it's going to be a shawl, and you get, in a sense, you get to choose the colors, so you know what colors they're going to be. You just don't know how they're going to play with each other. And so there's a lot of unknowns in that, and I think process knitters like to know what's going to happen and where we're headed. Whereas a process knitter it's knitting. Let's we're just going to knit. If that means I have to rip out a section and redo it, so be it. So that, mystery knit-alongs in general, I think, lend themselves to be things that process knitters have no issue with. The mystery part of it is just fun. With process knitters, I think, or with product knitters, I think it becomes a challenge to, I'm going to do this, but I don't know where it's going, and it makes me uncomfortable. Now, the aspect I think about this shawl that was especially challenging is its modular aspects. And because you don't know how even though you're building each piece of the module, you're adding different modules onto a main core, you don't know how where they're all going together. You don't know how they all blend with each other in the end, because it's like you're seeing this, right? Sorry if I didn't say spoilers. So you get kind of this is half of the shawl. So you get this, and you're not entirely sure what all is going to happen. And each clue only takes you a little way, and even I felt uncomfortable a little bit in the construction of the shawl and whether all of these things were going to come together. Last year, I think, was a little easier because it was much more traditionally shaped. You had a crescent. So as you were going along, you had, this part of the crescent, and then you built off of that with some more of it, and then it can just continue to grow in a crescent-like manner. Now, it did kind of widen out with these wings, and then, well, you had the little brioche section, which was fun, and then, of course, you had this long, big border, which a lot of people chose different borders to put on it. So, but it was traditional. You kind of got a sense of where this could go. It was sort of sampler shawl-esque because you had different sections where the colors played in different ways with different stitch types. It's very textual. It's very tactile. But it was within the realm of experience for many shawl knitters. This one, out of the gate, not your traditional shape. You had I'm not even sure what to call it, but it's sort of a boxy square type of piece. And then you added some wings and some stuff to that, and then we added more stuff to that. So it just kept getting longer and has a unique shape to it. Very not traditional. So I don't know. Those are just some of my thoughts. I think mindset with this year, especially, I think mindset was going into this project was extremely important. Going into the mindset of, I don't know what's going to happen other than I have these three colors, but I'm going to trust the process. Again, process coming back into this. I'm going to trust the process, and I'm going to trust in the designer based on my experience with that designer. So there's an aspect of coming in with the mindset of, I'm going to learn something new. I know that's usually going to happen, especially if you've done any of his mystery knit-alongs in the past. usually there's something that you've learned that you didn't know before or that you've never tried before. So you learn a new technique, a new style, a new shape. And so coming into it with the mindset, all right, I'm going to learn something. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to learn something. I'm going to be open to that. I'm going to be, I think another thing that comes especially with Westknit patterns is open to color play. So having a mindset of the colors are going to play in different ways, and I'm just going to trust in that color play. I think people that don't trust in that color play wind up with doubts and reconsidering their choices. And I think if you come into it with the mindset of, you know what, these are my colors, let's see how they go. Now, if the colors are truly, a couple of high contrast and a color pop, I think you're gonna be, you were set for that mindset to bear fruit. If you were a little more blendy, I think that was going to be more of a challenge. But then again, I've seen some of them that were that the color schemes were very sort of blendy, very much closer together, that are turning into really quite lovely muted color shift type shawls. And I think this construction works with that really nicely. Some other things. So for me, at least, having that mindset of, I'm going to learn something. The colors are going to play in different ways, and I'm going to just allow that to happen. And so I'm just going to trust my color choices, and I'm going to trust in the Stephen West style. When you jump into a Stephen West project, especially Mystery Knit Along, you are relying on things he has done with Mystery Knit Alongs in the past, and you have judged those as being, that's something I would have wanted to experience, or maybe that I did experience and really enjoyed. I'm going to continue with that experience. So I think mindset was big. Having a particular end in mind, I think, was also an important thing to have. Now, we weren't going to know what it was going to look like, but I think having the experience in mind that you wanted to have, of in a sense enjoying engaging with and enjoying the mystery, not knowing what direction it was going to go, the whimsy and the fun of that, I think, is part of the end in mind, as well as, I'm going to learn something, and I'm going to have something in the end which will be interesting regardless of what he does. So having not the product end in mind, but the experience end in mind, I think, is also important as something to start out with whenever you're doing a mystery knit along, or really any knit along, is the end in mind, I think, is the experience. The product, the end product, I think, is a gift that you get at the end. It's sort of a consequence. Another aspect, I think, is just being really clear about what's important to you when you get into a project like this, especially a mystery knit along, and especially this one, is really knowing what's important to you and being able to stay true to what's important to you. So if that means if it's important to you to keep up with every clue, being able to be realistic about, well, how much time will that really take out of my day, out of my week, to meet that expectation that I placed on myself. And with this year's Mystery Knit Along, I think it became very quickly that may not be something that you could do. You might not be able to keep up week to week. And so this year was a very strong lesson, I think, that came out of this Mystery Knit Along was you have your own pace. Your successful completion of each clue is up to you. Not based on when does the next clue drop, or how quick did Martin finish his, how quick did I finish mine. It's really, what is my own pace and what is acceptable for me. And I think it's again, comes back to mindset, comes back to what's your end in mind, what's important. And I think what's important for me was the experience. Now, I was able to keep up with all of the clues because I had some extra time, because it's a slower time of year for me, and I put in the extra hours. Was it important that I keep up? Not really, but I wanted to. If I had fallen behind, I would have fallen behind. Big deal. I would still, plod forward and get to the end. And so, knowing what's important and then acting on those things that are important. So if the important thing is you had family obligations, then you had family obligations. That's more important than a shawl, which is still going to be there. So, being able to say it's okay to set this aside and not knit on it for a few days while I do things that are more important to me. So, those are just some things that, at least for my mind, as I have been thinking about this experience and this year's Mystery Knit Along, things that really kind of came out was, having the mindset, knowing the vision of what you're wanting to get out of this Mystery Knit Along, and then focusing on what's really important for you, and because you get to determine what your vision of the experience will be. You get to determine what your mindset is. And from that you get, again, I think what you get out of it is the prize of a really interesting experience and a shawl that is in this year especially, that's very unique, that's very interesting to look at, interesting to touch and feel, and I think it will be interesting to wear it as well. So that's those are things that have been going through my mind recently in regards to this Mystery Knit Along. And really, quite frankly, the more I ruminate on it and think about it, it's really when I think about what it means to be a knitter and any project that you take on. Those are things I think that we consider and contemplate, maybe not intentionally or knowingly, but we go into any project with a particular mindset, a particular vision of what we want that project to be for us. What it's is it going to be a gift? Is it going to be, how do I want that gift to be received? We start thinking, in terms of, what's the end in mind? And then we determine, how do I schedule getting it done? How do I go through the process of working on this object? Is this something that it gets done when it gets done, or is there a deadline that I'm placing on this item for myself? So I think these are things that we do with every project that we pick up, from the lowliest, dishcloth to the most intense colorwork sweater or something that you may be working on. All right. Well, so there's my brain dump for the day. Hope you enjoyed it. What are you thinking of the Westknits Mystery Knit Along Twists and Turns Shawl finale? And well, I haven't seen a lot of finished shawls yet coming across the different social media, but I'm betting that within this next few days we're going to start seeing more of that hitting our feeds. So I'm really interested to see how this all looks in the very end. I have an idea of what mine will look like in the very end, now that I've seen the final video. But I'm looking forward to that little final section and knitting it and getting this wrapped up. So when I do, I will definitely be on here to share that final finished with you. So yeah, there we go. I can't think of anything else to talk about today, so I'm going to go ahead and sign off. I'll probably do at least one more episode of Vlogtober. I hope you've enjoyed this little series. I know I have. But until next time, may you have peace in your home and the fullness of joy for all who dwell there. Until next time.